built on relationships, focused on people, and rooted in the community. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast. Tune in for weekly episodes featuring guests who are building a better tomorrow. You'll hear inspiring stories from industry leaders, business owners, community partners, and our team members. The Build Blue podcast, where construction comes to life. An Apex Construction Group production. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast, an Apex production. My name is Jess Blaze, the Business and Community Relations Manager here at Apex Construction Group, and I am joined by Lisa Cownie today of MRCI, KEYC, and PerfecTan Plus. Did I miss any?
Well, a couple of things. North Cato Magazine,
yes.
Thrives Magazine, and then I adjunct teach at MSU. But that's
obviously.
It. Yeah.
We're going to get into all of that because I think that you are fascinating and you just have your hand in so many things and it's just super interesting. So we're going to get into that. But we start all of our podcasts with our Apex Icebreaker. So you own PerfecTan Plus and you have since last fall. So if you could open and run any business besides the one that you already own, what would you do?
Yeah, this is a good question because it's something I've thought about forever. And that is I would own a bookstore. With maybe a little wine cafe on the side, like you could read a book and drink wine. Because I'm an avid reader, I love reading, and my perfect day would be to wake up, go open up my little bookstore, sit in there, read, tell people about books, maybe have a glass of wine at some point. Yeah, it would be great.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And since I'm an avid reader as well, and I find it hard to find the time to read, I'm going to ask kind of a sub question. Based on what we know about you, when do you find time to read?
Yeah, I actually just make time to read. So every night before bed, I like to pick up my book, and I like actual books.
I do too.
Like where I can turn the page and I'll read before bed for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. On Saturday and Sunday mornings when I don't have to get up early, I still normally do because I'm so used to it and it's so quiet. And I'll just get my coffee and go and sit on the couch and just read for a while before I get the day started. So yeah, a little bit of reading every day.
It is so relaxing.
Yeah, it really is. And it just makes you, whatever is worrying you, you can just forget about it for a while because there's people in the book that you can worry about. So that's not your real life. So
do you prefer fiction or nonfiction?
I would say overall I prefer fiction, but I do like some nonfiction.
Yeah.
For instance, Rick Springfield's memoir. I own the hard copy and the soft cover. That's okay.
Do you have an autographed copy?
I don't yet.
We need to remedy that. I didn't ask any questions about Rick Springfield, but I'm really glad he came up because Lisa is like a super fan.
A little bit of a fan, yeah.
So your background, Lisa, is so interesting. And I know most of our audience likely knows you from KEYC and your time there. But let's talk about what brought you to Mankato and kind of how your career has unfolded in that time.
Sure. So this is actually my second bout here in Mankato. We first moved here back in 1992. My husband and I moved here so he could finish school at what was then Mankato State University. So we just got married and we moved here so he could go to school. And I had worked previous to moving here at a station in Quincy, Illinois. So I had some TV background. But when we moved here, KEYC didn't have any openings for me. So I went to the radio station. Pro Radio Group was what it was called at the time. And they had a news director opening. And so I stepped into that role, but always had my eye on KEYC. I knew that it was a station with the market size that it is that would have a lot of turnover. So was able to eventually slide into a role at KEYC doing the 10 p.m. news anchor slot. So so we came here so Brody could finish his education, and then that's when I first got into KEYC, was at that time, back in 1992. And then when he graduated, he was in the Coast Guard at the time. Oh, I should probably back way up, but I won't. He's in the Coast Guard, and they sent us out to San Francisco once he graduated. So that's when we left Mankato at that time. We'd had our oldest son. So that was 27 years ago. So, yeah.
And then you came back.
And then we came back, yeah. So after 28 years in the Coast Guard, we were stationed out in Hawaii, and it was time for him to get out. We didn't want them to move us again. Our oldest son was getting ready for high school, and we're like, we need to decide where to settle because these kids can't keep, changing schools all the time once high school hits. So, and we just always loved Mankato. We were only here for maybe 3 years in the early 90s, but we really loved it. The size of it, we felt it'd be a great place to raise kids. So, so we're in Hawaii, just looking back at the mainland. Where do we move? And we picked Mankato. So I did come back, though, about 6 months before the move. And boy, had it changed a lot. in that time.
And what year was that when you guys came back the second time?
2008.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it had changed a lot, but still kind of felt like home, which sounds really crazy to say because we were only here a short time, but it was really great. So
you guys come back in 2008. Do you have all of your kids by then?
Yeah, all the kids. So, yeah, my oldest son was born here, and then Dylan was born in California. The girls were born in Washington, D.C., and I told Brody we have to stop moving because I keep having kids every time we move. So just stop moving. So, they were all here. So Jacob was starting high school. Dylan was in middle school. Grace was 4th grade, and Olivia was starting kindergarten. So she's the only one that's really had one longevity of one school system. So, yeah, moved back here, and as I knew they would, the community just embraced us as a family, and it was great. So, yeah, we love it here.
That's awesome. Obviously, you are a high-capacity person. You have a lot of things going on. Have you always thrived with a lot of projects?
Yeah, I really have, and I think that partly comes from having 4 kids. You just kind of have no choice at some point. But I think even looking back, all through college and then starting my career, I've just always liked to be busy and keep learning. We were talking before we started recording about learning new things, and I just, that's what I thrive on, is just tackling new things and trying to learn as much as I can about it. But yeah, and as you know, you have kids, like having kids really makes you have to be organized and, I really feel a lot of my skills professionally have come from just being able to make sure all their uniforms are done on time and they get to where they need to be and, managing the calendar. So, so I've always thrived. Just recently on Memorial Day, I was off of all of my jobs and the tanning salon was closed and I about went crazy. Like, I did not know what to do with myself. Yeah. And my husband's like, stop pacing. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Read a book.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, laundry, I can do that, or clean the kitchen, but that's no fun.
No, that's not.
I avoid those things, but yeah.
So you mentioned you have 4 children, and we've had several women on the podcast, and this has come up, and just the conversation about balance. And so I want to ask you, what is your advice or wisdom for specifically young professional women who are trying to balance careers and passions and learning and motherhood?
Yeah, there is no balance. I think you have to let go of that dream. So let's just bust that myth right now. So there really can't be balance when you're trying to juggle so many things. And I was interviewing Julia Corbett, who's an attorney here in town.
She was on the podcast and we had this conversation.
Oh, yes, because when I was interviewing her, she said, I'm not a working mom. I'm a mom who works. And that really struck with me because that is true. Like, you're a mom first, and you just, as long as they're getting their stuff taken care of, then everything else can fall into place. And I've always, throughout my career, picked jobs that were flexible enough that I could make sure that I was there for them. And I will just say, I think that it's quality of time you spend with them and not quantity. Like, I could be staying at home with them all day, but if they're in their room or somewhere doing something and I'm doing something else, then what's the point of that? So, but I think quality time, as long as you're, like, when my boys were young, we would read every night before bed, even if it was just 15 or 20 minutes, we would read and, talk as you're reading and just spending that time with them. And I'm not in the kitchen a lot. But when I am, they're there helping me to cook, and so it's just doing things with them, I feel like, just helps everything else kind of fall into place.
I think that's such a good nugget for anyone who's listening who is a mom who works.
Yes.
Quality over quantity, because sometimes you do feel like, oh, I'm not here enough, or I'm not getting enough time. But if you're making the most of the time you do have,
exactly,
it's a better way.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up about it. Like, each day, if one day you're going to bed and you're like, oh, I should have done that differently, then, tomorrow you get another chance. So, just take kind of each day at a time, I guess. So.
I love that. MRCI, let's talk about that job.
Oh, yes, I would love to.
MRCI is doing fantastic work in the community, but things have changed significantly for MRCI over the last few years with the pandemic. So let's kind of talk about what those changes are and then what your role is, because you have an interesting role at MRCI.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So about 5 years ago, I was kind of tired of reading the news, to be honest with you. Like, it can get really depressing almost when you're going out there every day and telling people stuff they don't want to hear. So I was feeling like I needed to do something different. I was becoming someone I didn't really like. So I'm like, I need to do a little switch here. And then I met some folks from MRCI, and they were looking for someone to help them tell their stories, for so long. So MRCI, for people that are watching that might not know, we serve individuals with disabilities in the community. And for a long time, they were kind of segregated away and just kept with other individuals with disabilities and not really integrated into their community. And MRCI's goal is to get them out into the community and to tell those success stories and not kind of keep it hidden away. So my job in coming in there was to tell those stories and to find ways to help that population of people really integrate into the Mankato community. So it was just a wonderful switch for me, and I went from feeling like, what am I doing every day reading this terrible news, to then feeling like I was actually, serving a purpose in life. Yeah. So it really fills my cup every day. So my role there now is community relations manager. And I do some grant writing, again, push out the stories about the clients that we serve, plan some events for us, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, she mentioned the pandemic. So previous to the pandemic, we had several buildings around Mankato and in the South Metro area where the folks that we serve would come in. Some would go to community jobs. Some would work inside of the facilities and socialize there. But it was always in our long-term plan to get them out of the building and into the community as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So when the pandemic made us close our buildings, that was time for some really innovative thinking and figuring out what can we do to still serve, because we were really worried. I mean, they were home then, and their group homes was nowhere to go because everything was shut down. So we started with some virtual programming so they could at least have that interaction safely in their group homes. And then our leadership team, I wasn't involved, I can't take credit for it, but they had the idea of selling our buildings and buying vans and sending out these individuals in groups of 4 with a qualified staff member out into the community to spend their days like we do. Go have lunch with friends, go to the park, visit the library. And so that's what the model is now. We've sold all of our buildings except for one that we use for offices. And otherwise, their staff person will take the van, pick them up each day, and they spend their day entirely out in the community.
Which is amazing.
It's so wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. And we still, that's our day service program. We still have our employment program, so we're still training, and but even that has changed because now all of the work that they do is out, and they're actually employed by the company and not through MRCI. We're just there to help them job train and get them going, and but they're making their own competitive wages, and yeah. I think the whole goal is just to have them spend meaningful days.
Absolutely.
And to be able to direct what they want to do with their lives. So, yeah, so it's a change in a business model, but it's been really successful. And as long as we can find staffing, we can serve more people.
And so interesting that was kind of on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
then it was forced, for lack of a better word,
right.
to become reality. And it's such a great thing, I think it sounds like, for all parties.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was good because that's one thing COVID did do. I think for a lot of people actually was like, push them, just get them going, so yeah. So we had that plan kind of going. It was like a 5-year plan at the time, and then we had like 5 months to get it going, and yeah, it worked out. So yeah, so it's thriving today. It's going really great. That's
wonderful. And you do have an event coming up in September.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yes.
It is a favorite event in the community. Yeah. Whose Line is at Mankato, which is an improv style show with an improv troupe from the Twin Cities, and then local community members participating as improv comedians.
I know.
Which in itself is comic.
Yeah. It's totally unscripted, and I don't know if people believe that, but we really send, you're going to be participating in it this year, send you on stage with a little direction, just go be yourselves, and yeah, it's but the contestants always have so much fun. They want to come back and do it. So we'll have a reunion show one day, and I think the people in the audience really love it too. So
it's hysterical.
Yeah, it's our biggest fundraiser, and it's really great. And we tie it back to mission. We incorporate people we serve in it in a variety of ways, and yeah, it's hysterical. It's funny. I still watch back at the recap videos, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe that happened.
I watched our Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Jamie Jacobs, was a participant last year, And I was involved in a different capacity, and I was watching the recap video, and I was like, why is there so much dancing? Like, why are you? She was like, I don't know. There was a lot of jumping and a lot of dancing. And I was like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, I know. You never know. This year it could be different, but yeah, it's really fun.
I'm up for dancing. I've talked to several of the other participants, and so we're all dying to know what teams we're on for this upcoming event. And I know we'll do that later this summer, and we have that to look forward to. But Whose Line Mankato, are tickets on sale, or is there a good spot for details?
They will when this comes out. They'll be on sale.
Okay, perfect.
So you can go to our website, which is mymrci.org, and look up tickets. You can buy tables or individual seats, but it's a lot of fun.
We're very excited about it. Now let's talk about next on the list, KEYC.
Yes.
So when the timing of you going back to KEYC, after you took a break and went to MRCI, they were like, we need you.
Yeah. So I actually, it was pretty quickly after I went to MRCI, KEYC came to me and said, we want to launch this morning show, and we need a veteran. They didn't say old, thankfully. We need a veteran newscaster to sort of help get it launched and get it on its way. So you can come back part-time, do us in the morning and then go to MRCI. And so I thought, I'll give that a try. And I thought maybe a year just to get it going. And here it's been 4 years, I think, but it's so much fun on the morning show. So it's 5:30 to 7, and it's a little, a mixture of news, a little bit of personality, and some feature stories. But I think Mankato was really ready for it, just for the weather, if nothing else. You know what the weather's going to be.
The weather's on every morning when I come downstairs to get my coffee.
And still, when people ask me in the middle of the day, what's the weather like? Even though I've heard it 18 times in the morning show, I still am like, oh, what did she say? Like, I can't remember. Too many things have gone in my head. But so that's really great. And do you want to ask me about something else?
I do. So I saw on social media that you and Kelsey Barchinger, your co-host in the morning, have a special announcement for something exciting that's going to be happening. I ran into Kelsey at JP Fitness. She indicated the same thing. And now I'm here with you. I'm not like stalking you guys to get this information. It just so happens that the timing worked out that you might be able to actually give us some details on this exciting announcement.
This is actually the first time I'm saying it out loud publicly. But we are going to be launching a lifestyle show on Labor Day. So it's going to be so much fun. So Kelsey and I, if any of you have been watching the morning show, we do, well, maybe some of them are silly, but they're not news stories. They're like community, going out in the community and doing things and trying different things and really showing off this great place that we live. And those have been kind of popular with people. So our corporate owners were like, maybe we should just do a whole half hour of you guys really showing off the community and doing food, fashion, art, music. So we're going to do that.
Can you share details on like what time of day we'll be able to watch this?
So the name is going to be Catoland Living. It will air at 4:00 Monday through Friday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've already started shooting stuff for it. So we're going to be busy, but it's going to be great. And it's just going to be so much fun for us to like highlight the different businesses, nonprofits, just all the great things that are happening here.
There's so many wonderful things happening. There's so many people who are doing super cool things. So I am just beyond thrilled.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Congratulations. Yeah, it's going to be fun because you can't get to, the news is the news, and you can't always get to some of the more fun, cool stuff. So the show will highlight that.
So the morning show will stay.
The morning show will stay, and we'll still be co-anchoring that. Okay. So we'll anchor that. Then we'll tape the show 9:00 in the morning. Then we'll air at 4. So,
that is so exciting!
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting.
So Labor Day is the debut.
Labor Day will launch. Yeah. So
cool. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. That is super cool. Did you have an aha moment in your career or in your life where you really felt like I'm right where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because I've moved around so much. Brody was in the Coast Guard, and we moved every 3 years. So every time we moved, I had to sort of reinvent myself, which I think is why now I'm crazy and doing all this stuff because now I'm combining them all. But, every time we moved, it was always within the communication realm. But, I was the editor of a business journal in one spot. I hosted a business show on a cable channel once. Like every time we moved, I had to sort of start over and find what I was going to be doing in that particular location. So, so finding that at each stop was kind of interesting, and I learned a lot. So when we got to Mankato and we were settled, I wish I was younger, because I felt like everything then was falling in place for my career. You know, I could do KEYC, and then the MRCI opportunity came up, and then some of the magazines reached out, and it's hard to say no to things when you like everything, doing everything so much, you know. And then when my kids were grown, I'm like, well, now I have time. You know, I didn't always have time to do all of this stuff, but now I do. So I am while I can.
Good. So now feels like kind of that moment.
Yeah, now it does. Yeah, I feel like I'm, you know, peaking at my career very late in life, but
I wouldn't say very.
But it's but it's all working out, and I love it. Yeah, so it's good.
That's awesome. Is there something that would surprise people that they probably don't know about you that you'd be willing to share?
In fact, I think this surprised you at last year's Whose Line event when I told you this. I'm terrified of speaking in front of people. And I do it a lot just because of the nature of my job. I'm asked to MC things, and it probably sounds like I'm all shaky, but I really... That's different. That's a camera. There aren't any faces looking back, and all the words are written for me on the prompter, you know, so... Yeah, so it's really, every time I do it, it's getting outside of my comfort zone, but...
You did tell me that at Whose Line last year, and it did surprise me because you're so poised, and you always seem so confident and comfortable.
Yeah.
But I can relate to that feeling of like, oh, you can see me and I can see you.
Yes, I know. Oh yeah. Like even just thinking about it right now, I'm about ready to break out into hives. It's just like,
we need abort mission. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. So I think that surprises people when I tell them that, but.
Well, it doesn't show.
Oh, thank you.
When you are speaking,
people always say that.
It does not show.
Like, oh, yeah.
Will Lisa Cownie ever slow down?
I don't know. You know, and my husband, he's in his 60s, so he's thinking about retiring. And our financial advisor is always like, well, I think Lisa's probably going to be supporting you for a lot of years because I don't see her ever not working. And I'm like, I know. So I don't know. You know, I just know right now I can do it. So, and I love to do it. So I am doing it.
That's a great outlook.
Yeah.
As long as it's
I'll do it as long as I can. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to add?
No, I just feel fortunate this community. It really is a great place. You know, we've been here, like I said, since 2008, but we feel like we've all lived here, I think, longer, and it really has embraced me. And I feel fortunate that I'm to the point where I'm able to piece all of these different things together and create a day that I just love spending, you know. So, and I love all the people here, and it's been a great place to raise kids. And so I'm really thankful to be a part of the community, which is why I'm involved in quite a few things too, to make sure that I can pass that on. So my kids will probably be living here too someday.
I was just going to ask, because this is not on our list here, but kids all in college now?
So 2 of them are out of college, and 2 of them are still in college.
Okay.
So the 2 girls go here to MSU. My 2 sons, I just moved one to Milwaukee, actually. And then my oldest son lives in Minneapolis and works up there. And they went to school at the U of M. But yeah, my oldest son's wife is from here, and she grew up here, and she loves it here, so they'll be back soon.
You don't have any grandkids yet?
Not yet.
Nope. Oh, well, it has been a pleasure, Lisa. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, for sharing your exciting news so you can see the brand new lifestyle show for Mankato, made for Mankato, starting on Labor Day on KEYC with Lisa and Kelsey. I'm just so excited for you guys. So, and details, we'll put a link for the Whose Line tickets in the show notes. And Apex will be there. I will be on stage. Yes. I don't know if I'll be funny, but I'm going to try.
You will.
And we would love to have you.